are you doing? I'll tell you what you're doing. You're listening to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. Either you are, or I'll be skipping rope with your entrails. Ta-ta.
This podcast is brought to you by our patrons at patreon.com/Elder Scrolls Lorecast. Robots Radio. Games, lore, stories, community. Just press play. Welcome to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, the podcast where we explore the amazing universe of the Elder Scrolls. Adventurers, or should I say explorers, welcome to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. I'm Tom, that's Lotus, as usual. And Starfield is officially out. It's not in pre-access, it's out. The newest Bethesda game. Lotus bought an Xbox in order to play. And so normally we would continue through with our looking at the Daedric monsters or something this week. But with Starfield out and a bunch of people playing it and it being a Bethesda game, I asked Lotus, I was like, hey, Lotus, what if we do an episode where we compare and contrast Elder Scrolls, Skyrim specifically, because that was the last main Bethesda Studios one 12 years ago, compared to Starfield. And we can talk about what we like and what we don't like as much, or the ways that they're similar and different, and really just answer the question of, if somebody likes Skyrim, are they going to like Starfield? Because it's a very different setting, but it's got a lot of similarities.
Right. And also, we're going to really go kind of hog wild on the topic with the next Tales of Tamriel. But there's a few things that I feel like every time you play a Bethesda game, it's weird that Bethesda is kind of the worlds have little nods to each other, but they're not the same world. And we've gone into that a couple times type of thing. Yeah. But they have a style to their game. And obviously people have preferences in which are their favorites, but each one kind of almost iterates on the last one and gives hints on to what the next one is. And the quote unquote Bethesda family of gamers is going crazy over Starfield right now. And I feel like we're seeing a few things outside just the engine itself of it that we will see either modified versions of, or we're seeing the little nuggets at the beginning of how they're going to turn into something that works in the Elder Scrolls 6. Insert title name here. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah.
Absolutely. I mean, they have made adjustments to the engine and even advancements in the way they do quest lines and some of these random encounters. There's a lot of things that they've expanded it on from there's a through line for Morrowind, basically. Morrowind, right. Fallout 3, Skyrim, Fallout 4, and then now Starfield and
Unloved Oblivion, which you skipped over.
I'm sorry, Oblivion.
It's fine.
I absolutely love Oblivion. I'm just jumping through names.
Everybody loves.
I didn't say 76 either.
Not everybody loves Oblivion, but a lot of people love Oblivion. But it's definitely the horror forgotten one.
Dude, that was the game that got me in the series.
Yeah, I know it seems to be the case, but so often people kind of just gloss over that one.
It's true
because it was this is super popular, and then when people think Elder Scrolls, it's now Skyrim. So
right. Well, that was the big one that we've had for 12 years now. But to your point, there are a lot of advancements that Starfield has made that makes us very, very excited for what's going to happen with Elder Scrolls 6.
And you can see some of the stuff from Fallout 4 and Fallout 76 that have iterated into something more involved for Starfield. And we're going to have different levels. I guess to start with, how much gameplay do you say you have about in Starfield so far?
I'm a good 15 hours in, maybe.
Okay.
On top of that, have watched my wife and my son both play. And so between all of us, there's 32 hours of gameplay.
So Whereas you've been in since the very beginning as well. You're also playing on PC, something that a shout out to your other show, the Elder Scroll. I mean, well, this, but
the Starfield Lorecast.
Yeah. I've been kind of listening to catch up now that I'm like involved as well.
Side note, real quick, we hit number 4 on the Apple Podcast video game charts. 4th freaking place. That's insane.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, that's crazy.
To that note, I play on the only platform that you and Dave don't play on. He plays on an S.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, you're both Xbox. You're different kinds of Xboxes.
You have a PC. Yeah. So we literally have all 3 of them covered.
True.
So my perspective would be from that. Also, I was in early access, much to the surprise of many people. No, I did not receive a review copy.
I didn't either.
I also didn't ask for one.
I asked for one, but I didn't get one for some weird reason.
You got lost in the shuffle for that, because that doesn't make any sense. But
I don't know what happened. Yeah, that's super weird.
From an objective standpoint, I did not deserve one, because 1, I didn't ask for one. And 2, as much as I have plenty of acquaintances at Bethesda who I super love, they're all awesome people, I'm not the demographic to review this game. I'm not a reviewer. So it would not, other than just being like, hey, do you want to give us free publicity? There's no reason to give me a code. And I didn't even know if I was going to be able to play it. So I got an Xbox through my friend who was getting rid of theirs. It's the only reason I can play this, period.
Yeah.
So I just got it. I didn't have early access. I just got it the other day from us recording.
Yeah.
And so you're a physical copy.
You're brand new in. You are how many hours now?
I am about 5 because I was irresponsible last night.
Yeah, but in the pre-show, you're talking about how you stayed up late. It is like you're like a college kid.
I got about 4 hours of sleep.
Just like hanging out all night, trying to get up in the morning for class, except it's work. So it's more important than class.
No gym. There was a pipe at work that I was doing chin-ups on, and I was like, this is close. And then I was like, this is even a huge mistake.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. We're all done.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's talk about some of the differences. And I want to get into some very specific questions in order to kind of organize our thought a little bit. And to answer Kratos.
Point to the crossover of this and why this is an Elder Scrolls show, not a Starfield show.
Right. And Kratos in chat says, I like Starfield, but I'm more of a medieval RPG, Dungeon and Dragons kind of guy. I'm not a space shooter guy. Which is going
to be the perspective I come from.
Absolutely.
This is actually one of my least favorite genres.
Yeah. And like when it comes down to it, I like space stuff, but not nearly as much as I like fantasy magic stuff. Like I'm at my core, like I am in my absolute sweet spot when it comes to the traditional Elder Scrolls kinds of things. Yep. And I also like Fallout. I also like Starfield. I also like Mass Effect. I also like The Witcher. I like all of these games from the standpoint of the way you can role play them, the way the stories play out, and a lot of that stuff. And then the setting is kind of a secondary benefit, right? So like I would rather be in a fantasy setting, but if I'm in a space setting and I'm still getting a really good game and a really cool, environment with some really interesting lore and all of those things, then I'm still happy. It's like, for me, it's not like one or the other. It's like if fantasy setting is a 10, then space setting is like an 8.5. Like it's still good.
Sure.
It's still good. It's just not, if I only had to pick one, there's definitely a desert island pick. I would pick fantasy. So when the game starts, it has every Bethesda game has their intro, right? There's where you find out who you are in the world and what's going on, and you get through like this little tutorial section, and then you are introduced to the world. In Skyrim, because we can't talk about Elder Scrolls Online, it's not exactly the same thing, but Skyrim's the closest comparison. We have the situation
with single player Elder Scrolls, or single player Bethesda games, because we'll include more than just Elder Scrolls.
Right, but so let's just go back to Skyrim, and you're a prisoner, you're about to get your head chopped off, and then of course you escape during the dragon attack and all of that, right? And then it goes through like this little dungeon, and then it opens up to the rest of the world, and you go wherever you want. In Starfield, you're a miner, not a miner as in like a small child, somebody who collects rocks out of caves, and you're working in a situation, you come across something important in the storyline, and then you get to design your character, and then you meet some other characters, you get attacked by some pirates, and then you're off to the rest of the universe and go through kind of an initial quest, and then you're into everything else. Yeah. How do you feel compared to Skyrim? How does this hold up? How does it feel different to you?
I'm actually pretty interested in the storyline, which is kind of not something I tend to do. I've also heard that maybe like it benefits you to focus a little more on the main story, then go mess around in Bethesda games. This one I've heard that because there is a new game plus feature that I've heard about. I really have stayed pretty much completely clueless to the majority of stuff.
Yeah, we're going to try not to spoil too much. The new game plus
I physically
thing
can't. I barely know anything outside what I've physically like played myself.
Right. So the new game plus thing is kind of a nice addition. It allows you to progress through the main quest line and then get some really cool stuff and kind of reset your playthrough a little bit. But it's not important. You don't have to do it. It adds some things that you can't get otherwise. It's a really cool feature, but it's not 100% contingent. It's not like you would have to rush through Skyrim's main storyline and kill Alduin and all of that stuff, right? Like it's kind of its own thing. So I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't sweat that part.
So it's not very long, but the intro to the game gives you a little bit of a background, and it introduces you to the story with these artifact things. Like that's really all we
something from what appears to be an alien race does weird stuff when people come in contact with it.
What is going on? And then you get to do your character creation as opposed to being a prisoner. And they're asking like, hey, is this you when you design your character? It was, hey, do you remember yourself? And then it goes from one thing to another to kind of show you some of the mechanics to the game. It actually reminded me, because of the way it's laid out, a little more like Fallout 4's intro than Skyrim's. I feel like Skyrim cut you free a little quicker.
Yep.
Fallout 4's lasted a little longer. This was a little more in line with Fallout, with like, we're going to keep you on rails for a little bit, and then once we teach you how to fly, now you can go mess around how you see fit. But it takes a little bit to get there, get your ship, blah, 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 blah.
Right. There's more systems. This is a game that requires a longer intro because there's more complex. And you're right. It is more similar. We haven't had flying, but by the time you get to Fallout 4, you've got settlements and there's more things to kind of learn along the path.
Right.
So that makes sense why that's the case. Also, the whole situation with you getting knocked out and then trying to remember who you are is actually more similar to Fallout New Vegas and Doc Mitchell stitching you up.
Get shot in the side of the head
after you get shot.
Like, hey, who are you?
Right. So there's kind of a callback there as well, even if that wasn't a Bethesda Studio made game.
Sure, but Obsidian. They're in collaboration with each other.
Yes, absolutely. So cool
because
stuff.
I was going to say, just on a weird side thing, Obsidian, along with everybody else, did a tweet that it was just like, congrats on Starfield, we're even excited to go play in the new sandbox type of thing. But yeah, so I would say that it's a little bit not overly handholdy, but honestly, in one regard, because there are so many new systems, and each one of the entries in the series, from Bethesda's standpoint, not like Elder Scrolls, Fallout, or now Starfield, every entry they kind of put in a few systems that are new, and also refined what was kind of there before, where it was like in Skyrim you had that homestead thing. Well, then it became settlements. Now it's like build a starship and an outpost.
Yeah, up to 9 outposts and it's a bunch of starships.
That's a lot of stuff. So they needed to teach you that. I actually am not a space pilot-y type person, so I liked what I played so far of the flying thing, but honestly, you'll almost never hear me say this because I'm always like, tutorials are too long, I can't skip them fast enough. They did not teach you like use your joystick or mouse to look around. It was, here's how to mine, here's your ship, here's how combat works.
Yeah, here's how to fly your ship. Here's how to allocate power to your engines or your guns.
And I was
whatever.
like, whoa, what was that power allocation thing? They're like, anyways, you're in combat. I was like, no, wait, what was the shield thing?
Yeah. You can't skip some of those because otherwise you won't be able to do anything.
And I was kind of like, maybe a little more ship, please, because I'm not. This is not my genre. Ships. Okay, all right, I'll just figure it out.
Yeah. Well, to that point, the way they designed ship stuff and travel is that you can do it like many of the other systems in this game. You can do it if you want. You have to do some of the systems at least a little bit. Sure. But if you don't want to spend most of your time flying a ship around, you can totally just fast travel to another point. You can totally just go to the mission menu and say, route myself to that planet over there. Okay, hit the X button, go. And now you're at the other planet, and then you say, okay, land on the planet, and then boom, you just land. You don't have to fly anything unless you just happen to get attacked or something. You fight a bad guy.
Which is something I do generally like about Elder Scrolls games. They tend to kind of show you your systems, and you can work around the systems you like or not like. I tend not to have companions oftentimes in my Elder Scrolls games. I don't tend to ride around on horses a lot of times in my games. I definitely don't ride around on dragons because that did not work very well in Skyrim.
Yeah, right.
But whereas in Fallout, I really liked power armor. I like the flying, but I appreciate, and here will be my first spicy take for the episode. One of the knocks against the thing, because people seem to think it's a flight sim sometimes, as opposed to a Bethesda game in space.
Yeah, it's an RPG. It's a space RPG. It is not a flight sim. Like, nobody knocked Mass Effect for these same things. So, right.
On that note, I apologize to anybody who wanted a flight sim. Objectively, the game is better that I don't have to land my stupid starship. Right? I don't want to do that.
Yeah, it would take if every time I had to land somewhere, it would take me 5 or 10 minutes to just land the freaking thing. But instead, you just like land, and then even after you land, you're given the option, like, get out of your seat
or go onto the planet.
Just spawn outside the ship so you can just go do the thing you wanted to go do.
Right, which is something that I actually related to No Man's Sky. It wasn't super complicated, but oftentimes I was like, oh my God, just land.
Yeah.
Because I'd be crooked. I'm like, this is stupid. I don't want to do this. I just want to go mine some garbage. Right. Like, please let me mine trash.
And I think Bethesda understands who their audience is, and they understand like where they've come from. And their audience wants to fight cool things, collect cool loot, meet interesting characters, play through quest lines that have cool twists and turns that get you from one place to another to some really cool end of quest line stuff.
Sure.
And anything that's going to get in the way of that is a hurdle that doesn't need to be there. So even though it's things based in space, it doesn't mean that you have to pilot everything, or the idea that even landing your ship and taking off manually would be a benefit. If anything, it's a drawback. People were complaining about, like, if you pick a place on the planet to just land, what it does is it procedurally generates an area around the landing zone.
Right.
You can't walk all the way around a planet or moon. But then again, other than just for curiosity's sake, why would you even want to? There's no reason to do that.
So that's one thing that I also, this isn't totally, because I feel that one of the reviewers that I just like for all general games and phrased this pretty well. So just riffing off of G-Man Lives, which is the reviewer in question. He's a big boomer shooter player, but he shared a lot of my thoughts with this thing of the thing is, just because you can do something does not make it all that worthwhile. And in the situation of landing in the middle of nowhere, and I will relate this to Elder Scrolls in a minute, because there is a strong tie to Elder Scrolls that a lot of people nowadays will not get, but it's there, is just roaming for the sake of roaming is fine for novelties purposes, especially when it's procedurally generated. Okay, that's pretty cool type of thing, whatever, that you can just keep seeing your own unique thing. But you will die before you walk around the planet, because, spoiler alert, planets are huge.
Right. Planets
you
are
would
gigantic.
be dead if you were like, well, I can do that in real life. Incorrect. You would die before you cross the world.
How many people have walked around the planet?
Walk there.
Very, very few.
Correct.
Right.
So relating that to Elder Scrolls specifically, in Arena and Daggerfall, you could walk from everywhere. It was an option. And guess what I didn't do in my playthroughs was walk everywhere. I would mess around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the games were procedurally generated outside the city points that were designed, because they were hubs, they were locations that you needed to go to. And then you could physically walk to them, or there was this weird thing where you could fast travel and watch the fast travel in Daggerfall.
Yes. Yeah.
So you would just watch as you were running through it.
Yeah.
You know what wasn't fun
That because it's mostly empty space. It's mostly like
nothingness.
You're just running towards a horizon. Every so often a creature shows up, or every so often there's a hill you got to go over, or some trees.
Again, I'm fine for weird crap for the sake of weird crap. And when I play Minecraft, I tend to just zone out and just dig for miles and stuff like that. There is something strangely cathartic about that. I get it. But when it becomes, do we have to limit the gameplay so we can do interesting things? Or can you walk in a straight, barren expanse for 77 hours?
Right. Can you do this thing?
I would rather give me 1 hour of just meandering into nothingness.
Right.
And then give me the thing that you were able to put in instead is kind of the thing. It's the trade-off that I feel.
It's such a ridiculous argument. It's like, do you want to do the really boring thing, or do you want to actually do the stuff that's actually interesting and get to that stuff? I mean, that's all it is.
Thing is, I don't need the option to do something just for the sake of doing it.
Right.
I appreciate like a moderate interest level of it so you can mess with it.
It's enough.
Because again, and
here's the thing.
For a while.
Right. And here's
eventually like I get No Man's Sky. You can do that on planets. And guess what? You only get so far from your ship and then, okay, well, I go back to my ship because now I'm out in
There's nothing else to do. Absolutely.
Water.
So to your point, it's fun to an extent. And so what they've done is if you land in a spot, it spawns an area around you. The size of that area around you is the size of a 4x4 grid of Skyrim maps.
Right.
It's that big. So at the center point, if you head out in any direction, you have to travel 2 times the length of Skyrim to get to the boundary, to the artificial boundary. That's a ridiculous amount of distance anyway.
But also, unlike Skyrim, things are not handcrafted because you're out in the middle of an uninhabited planet that in many cases literally has no life on. You're the first one to land on it in some situations. Spoiler alert, there's not a lot to do out there.
Yeah. Well, some places have there's stuff you can find. There are they will have here's an oil refinery or here's a natural thing. But they're spread out and
it's the same way of like, okay, I dropped you in the middle of Russia. Okay.
Right.
Walk in a direction for 10 days. Do you find something interesting or do you find literally nothing and sleep under a tree? Because
is it just cold in trees? Is that all you get? Yeah.
So and that's kind of neat that that's there from planet to planet. I appreciate that. But I personally would prefer a moderate amount of that, which I feel we got in this situation. And use the rest of the resources rather than to do what Daggerfall, for example, did, which was we're the biggest game, but 99% of it nobody's going to see because nobody cared to walk 77 hours out into the field and be like, oh, well, yeah, nothing here.
So so to progress the story, like I think we've killed this monster.
I think we've
slaughtered this point. But to move on, you can clearly see that their intentionality has been around things that are more fun. So when we're talking about
the illusion of openness in a lot of situations, and that's what video games are. Spoilers. There's a lot of illusions. They're
a simulated world. Yeah. So what they've learned to do is focus on the parts that are fun. So for example, I also would rather walk around in Skyrim than take a horse or fast travel on a lot of occasions. And when you do that, you come across these random encounters. Somebody's walking down the street and something crazy happens, or somebody's in a fight over here with some monster and now you can jump in and whatever. They've expanded that out so well in Starfield because you can run into these random encounters, whether it's out on a planet somewhere and you come across a thing, or more importantly, you fly to another planet and you're still in space and all of a sudden you get hailed by another ship and then something happens. And the diversity of the way those work, the stories I've heard talking to other people about some of this stuff. Have you run into much of those? I
have not yet. I already have really been skidding very close to being just outlawed in every city I go to.
Oh, wait, what are you just like stealing everything or killing people? What are you doing?
Yeah, when people mouth off. So I made, as a joke we were talking about, I made a very, very aggressive pirate grandmother. That is my character. And And when people don't cooperate, I get shooty. Like when you first encounter one of the pirate factions, this is really minimal spoilers, but there are pirates in the game, and they were looking for something, and I was mid dialogue. I was like, "That's enough," and I just opened fire. Like that's been my approach from this, like, I don't know, 95-year-old lady who is just like space grizzled.
That's awesome.
And messing around, I actually am heading to Neon next. That's probably where I'll go after we record. But New Atlantis has been fun, but if people get mouthy with me, I get
That's great.
impatient with them.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about cities. In Skyrim, you go to a city and
Yes.
there's like 60 people in that city, but only enough houses for like a dozen. And you're like, okay, where's the rest of the city? What's going on here? This is like, it doesn't take you too long to realize that like these cities aren't really that big. In Starfield, the cities are much more like city-sized. I mean, they're still not the size of a complete city, but they've expanded. So if you think of like, well, let's just talk Whiterun, any of the city locations are at least 6 to 10 times bigger than Whiterun.
Which, again, we can relate this. I'll do my best to relate this to exactly what we're talking about in the span of the Elder Scrolls. I appreciate how functionally New Atlantis in Starfield feels like a full city. Skyrim, like you said, the hub is like, okay, there's like 15 huts here. This is the bustling hub. You go to the, the Imperial City in Oblivion, and it's like, bruh, 34 people live here. This is the biggest trade hub in the Imperial, like in all of the province. Like, but I feel like we have a lot of promise from what we've seen from some of the cities in Starfield, or at least the ones I've seen so far. New Atlantis being the one I'm most acquainted with, because it's the first one you go to.
Let me pause you there.
Yeah.
Did you go underground, New Atlantis?
I haven't even made it there. I know about it, and I haven't gotten under there yet.
Yeah, so you can travel around on the surface and be like, wow, this is real big. There's lots of places to go. This is really cool. It's beautiful. And then you realize there's a whole underground section. You're like, what? Wait a minute. There's more?
I've heard, somebody was talking about it in the town that I walked by, and I overheard it, and I'm like, what?
What?
But
yeah,
the thing is, it feels functional. There's a lot to do there. It seems like there's a lot of handcrafted stuff. Going back to the older Elder Scrolls games, which went on realism above functionality, you have Daggerfall. The cities are frustrating to get across because, like, some of the large, like most recently in Daggerfall, when I've been playing through Daggerfall, like going to Daggerfall, it's like 150 buildings, and they're all like just procedurally generated, like blip, 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 like all over the place. And it's just like, oh my God, like I just need a store.
Right. You got to find the store in the midst of all these buildings, like in a real city.
I feel like it's an interesting balance to get realistic matched with functionality of game design for efficiency and fun. And I think that the way Starfield is so far, from my experience, they've got the technology to kind of back this up a bit more now, where it didn't bother me in Oblivion or Skyrim necessarily, but the joke was there. Okay, yeah, there's like nobody lives in the Skydrift. You come to the Skydrift very often? No, because I'm not the only person who lives there. Like, okay, like I get it. There's nobody here. Yeah. This seems like for the next one, the cities will likely be much more actualized, but not dull, because there's only so much you could do with them in an older system.
So there's another really smart thing that they do, and Slick Rick in chat brought up this concept, and I'm going to expand on this a little bit. One of the things Todd Howard is known for detesting are mini maps in games. He wants you looking at the environments, not piloting a mini map, an arrow around a mini map, because it's a role-playing game. You want to be in the world. You want to look through at the environment. So one of the things they've done extremely well, because the maps in this game are not great. They're kind of non-existent in a functional way once you're landing in a location. But it makes sense. You wouldn't just walk around looking at a map every time. When you enter a new area, let's say you go to the mall, right? Neon City's kind of like walking around a really big mall.
Sure.
You haven't been there yet, but if you walk through the mall, what you're going to do is you're going to pay attention to all the signs, either on the stores or like the little local map that shows up. You're going to use a little context clues and signage, which they do an amazing job with, in order to navigate yourself through the space. And in doing that, there's a psychological thing that happens. And I was talking with Dave Chaffins on the Starfield Lorecast about this on this most recent episode, which is going to go up in tomorrow. But he is a map designer. So he understands the philosophy of map design and how that works and how urban planning works and all of these kinds of things. And he was like, this is actually really smart, because what it does is it causes you to create your own mental map of the area. And when you do that, you remember where you're going better, and you have a better sense of how to get in and out of certain places if you just follow a map. And how many of us do this? They use like Google Maps or Waze or something when we're driving somewhere, and you can go back and forth between that place multiple times just following the directions on the map. But then all of a sudden one day your phone's dead and you're like, crap, how do I get there again?
How do I actually get there? Because I've never really paid attention other than not hitting other cars or pedestrians.
Exactly, because you've been piloting a mini map the whole time, right? So yeah, it doesn't have maps, which a lot of people complain about, but I think it's actually a genius decision in order to create an environment that feels more like you're actually a real person navigating it. And then you get to discover things that way.
I largely agree with that for the most part. And there's a little bit of a tie-in into something else that I want to get into for like across all the different games. And it kind of relates to the map thing. I actually don't feel the maps have ever been good in recent Bethesda games.
Yeah, they're not great.
Reading a map on a Pip-Boy is a nightmare factory.
Right. But I feel like
world maps are fine. But I mean the local maps.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a sign that they've been like that on purpose.
You're right.
And it's to create that environmental, like making a map out of your mind kind of thing. So
I can, to a degree, just because of like, okay, in Skyrim or in the Elder Scrolls in general, like, okay, it's pseudo medieval times type of thing. You're not really going to have a functional map. Like at most you have a literal hand-drawn map type of thing, which was fine for some of the older games. And that's just kind of what it is. The overworld maps, fine, whatever. The local maps, just they're really, I think, mediocre. Mm-hmm. Fallout, you have your Pip-Boy. The overworld map, that's fine. It gives you main locations. The local map, especially indoors, is straight up unreadable to me. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, anytime you have more than one floor, it just falls apart.
Right.
Yeah.
In Starfield, the only thing that I can say is because you're in a future tech scenario with like actual technology behind you, unlike Fallout, where it's kind of like stuck in the 50s, but like then there's also some. It is weird that in some situations you couldn't have like a weird like GPS on your phone.
But here's the thing.
Sort of see that.
You do have a GPS because if you choose a quest and turn on your scanner, there's a line that leads you to the place you're going.
So yes.
So it's still there. It's just not in a mini map. It's in the real world.
It's in the real world, which I can appreciate. So that's why it's like once I found that, because I found that late last night, I was like, oh neat, I can bring up my scanner doohickey, and it's like it's got like a like arrow dotted line essentially, but like, so it'll let you know where you're going. That's kind of cool. In general, I get if people want to use it for like, I want to go to the store on Jemison or whatever, it's fine. But I get it because again, there's a lot of context clues, and the idea is to honestly make you slow down and play the game, because gamers are in a huge rush to beat everything to then complain that there's nothing to do.
Right. And on top of it,
does not seem like it's good for that.
Yeah. And on top of it, Bethesda has learned that their greatest fans are the ones who go back multiple times, the ones who realize the depth of the thing they've created. And if people speed through these games, they miss the point. I personally believe that people who bounce off of Skyrim or Fallout or Starfield, they tried playing these games like they're other games. You can't play Starfield like it's Star Citizen because it's not a space sim. You can't play it like it's Destiny 2 because it's not a looter shooter, right?
Right.
But people try to play it like that. They're like, well, I just want to warp to this place and then I want to go fight the bad guys and I just want to go. And it's like, it's not really the same thing.
It's a weird dichotomy about that because people are either like, I want to just warp here, or why am I not manually landing?
Right.
Both extremes.
And so what they've done is they've threaded the needle between those two things, and they've created something that really does that well. And to the topic of Elder Scrolls games, I think that's going to bear out really well for future Elder Scrolls titles.
I do too.
Because we want to live in that world. We want to, if this is in High Rock, I want to be in High Rock.
Right.
I want to see what those cities are like and walk around with the people.
Yes. And I really like the new structural design of a lot of the cities where it feels like they're utilizing the tech to make them feel actualized without boring, like type of deal.
Yeah.
But that brings me kind of off the map, but it's part of it is, and this is the thing that I said, Dave Chafin's mentioned specifically on,
Can we tease it and go thank our patrons and then come back?
Yeah, actually, why don't we? He mentioned it on the Lorecast.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with it.
You know, it's funny to me. Just people will pop in our Discord and you feel like, hey man, I'm so happy to be here. Big fan of the Lorecast. And I always have to be like, which one? Which one? That's awesome.
Which game world do you like Lorecast wise?
I'm so excited that you're here and excited to be here. Well, which Lorecast? Because there's more than just one. Starfield Lorecast is what he's talking about. All right, let's go thank our patrons, and then we're gonna talk about this because it's gonna be great.
This is Hamish Morak, Dragonborn, and you are educating yourself to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast.
All right, here we are in the middle of the show, and we get to thank our new patrons, including Christopher F. Welcome to the Patreon, Christopher. And big shout outs to our Daedric Princes, Kira C. and Shiogorath's Sweet Roll. Thank you for your support. And to all 124 of our current patrons, thank you for being here. Yeah. If you're interested in joining and getting t-shirts or ad-free episodes or stickers or joining us on end of the month patron chats, any of that stuff, that's all at patreon.com/Elder Scrolls Lorecast. So just go look that up, and there's links in the show notes and all that stuff. Also, Lotus, we got 2 new reviews that came in. We've got a long one from Great Britain and a very short one from the US. Which one should I do first?
Start with the long one, end on the short one.
Okay, so this long one comes from SenX in Great Britain, who writes 5 stars. Such a good podcast. I found this after listening to the Lord of the Rings Lorecast because the only thing I love more than Lord of the Rings is the Elder Scrolls. I'm a new mom. Oh, we read this. Didn't we read this last time?
No.
We didn't? Okay.
No,
sometimes
this is new to me.
Sometimes I'm not 100% sure. I'm a new mum, and honestly, the one thing that's got me through the long days and sleepless nights is this podcast. I think I'm now on my 3rd or 4th run through in about 6 months, and I still can't get enough of it. It's equal parts funny, informative, and friendly, and I love the gameplay episodes to break it up from time to time. Man, I need to do those again, but
I know those can be pretty entertaining.
I am playing a lot of Starfield, so I've been meaning to leave this review and sign up for the Patreon for some time, but busy mum life kept getting away from me, so now is the time. Thank you, Robots and Lotus. You've made this UK mum very happy and reignited my spark for all things Elder Scrolls. And that's sweet. That's so nice.
Heartwarming.
Yeah. Senex, thank you for taking the time to leave that review. And then this
so nice of you.
This one is from Minecraft family. It's an entire family of Minecrafts.
I'll allow it.
Who writes, yay, 5 stars. Glad you're okay and safe. I think that's a comment from a few weeks ago when I was sick. So.
Oh yes, when you were yes.
When I was out.
The vid.
Yeah, I had the vid again. Yeah.
Not the VOD. The vid.
No. Doesn't seem to matter how many times you vax and update and stuff. Still can get you.
At least it seemed to destroy you less. Hopefully.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I was better off than I would have been.
Like you were much better off.
Yeah. If it was just like a flu, it wasn't anything super bad, but it was bad enough that like my voice sounded like probably like your pirate grandma.
Yeah.
So,
ooh, yeah.
So thanks for taking the time to leave those reviews. We'll read out future 5-star reviews and on Apple Podcasts. Also, you can leave a like a little comment and a rating on Spotify or whatever other podcast you're listening to this on if they have the ability to do that. All right, let's move on with the rest of the show.
You're listening to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, dear child of cities. That is why the Night Mother loves you.
All right, Lotus, tell me all about this thing that you and Dave Chaffins, the Starfield Lorecast host, share in common.
It's the UI, man, for the menus.
Yeah?
It's not good.
You don't like it?
I don't like it. And going beyond Starfield's, so I will actually give some credence to, I'm not super deep into Starfield, and I've never found it detrimental. However, I will actually say the running joke is a lot of times the criticisms against Bethesda games tend to be like, well, why is it so much like there's so much more focus on action? I'm like, that's exactly what I want. Screw stealth, more action. And people are like, well, they just design games around whatever you seem to like the most. I was like, sure do. And it's great. Their thing with menus, I actually didn't. Each subsequent game, I actually struggle more with the menus than the previous game.
Well, they get more complex. The complexity
They get
increases.
more complex, but not in a functional way, I find. And a lot of times, no, Starfield, at least, it's super advanced. So it's like, okay, this is futuristic or whatever.
And for people who haven't seen it, they don't understand. In Skyrim, you could choose like left or right. You go like your items or your magic, or you can go up, and that was like your level up stuff. And then, you know, like down was the map, I believe, or something like that, right?
Yeah, up was the map, down was the options, right was your spells, left was your inventory, I think.
It was something like that, right? Yeah. So this is similar.
3,000 hours, I'd know that, but it's muscle memory, not actually me paying attention.
Right. So this is similar, but the design aesthetic for Starfield is circles. So you have a big circle in the middle with your character and some basic stats. And then there are actually, once you get to a certain point in the story, there's actually 6 points on the circle.
Okay.
But you started with 5.
Right. So
you started with 5. There's like a top right, a top left. So top right is like your perks and level up. Top left is your star map. Bottom right is your inventory. Bottom left is your ship. And then down is your missions. Up is something else that gets added on later.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So then when you go into those, it opens up like basically another menu.
Yes.
Which you can then shuffle through type of thing. Which, is it awful? No. Is it kind of convoluted to the point where it's like, then you can press, well, this will also be from the perspective of a controller, just because that's what I've been using. So one feature I do like is if you're deep in these menus, I almost said something that would normally need to be edited. If you're deep in these menus, one thing that I do appreciate the game has added is if you hold the B button, which usually brings you back a page, you can press B and it'll bring you back a page. If you hold B, it drops you out of the menus entirely and just puts you back in the game.
Yes.
Because you can get into so many sub menus, it will take a notable amount of time to get back out of them.
That's mostly the star map. Is the multiple
star map's
levels.
A big thing.
And
I've noticed equipping weapons / like stuff like that. You end up in a menu in a menu. Right.
So instead of having
star map gets real convoluted, but
right. So for the items, instead of just having all of your items or like subcategories across the top that then drop in other things, it's categories that go down, and then you can be like, okay, spacesuits, helmets, backpacks,
and then when you go into that category, it opens that category, and you've got your new list that goes down. So it's like It's not the end of the world by any means.
It's subcategories. It's subcategories just in a different angle. It's correct. It's really not that different for that part. It's the star map that's complex.
The star map and the missions, because you can jump between like how the missions then connect to the star map depending upon which button you press. It'll bring you to the star map from the missions.
Yeah. Again, I think I don't know. I can't imagine just off the top of my head a more elegant solution, because each thing in its own thing makes sense. Yeah, it's the cross reference that I think.
I don't have a solution to this, by the way.
But I think this is probably the best version of a complex thing. So it's just a matter of getting used to it.
So
maybe you're just getting old.
Maybe I'm just old. Maybe
we've reached the get off my lawn age.
But at least I appreciate the technology look to it in Starfield, I will say. I do feel it's a little menu-y, which is something I've sort of actually... Well, whatever. We don't need to talk about that here. I got into a huge debate with somebody about the Xbox dashboard, now that I own an Xbox, compared to the PlayStation dashboard. And they are unequivocally on different planets of usability. And spoiler alert, it ain't the Xbox that I have credit for. I'm like, man, this system's neat, but this is the worst UI I've ever played. But
the other thing is that UI is all about familiarity.
It absolutely is. And that's why you get used to it. Even if it's not great, you get used to it.
You get
it's
used
fine.
to it. Yep.
Like, so as long as it's not completely broken, which it is not. I don't want to say that.
Sure.
But something that has happened along the series, which is where I was kind of going with this, is I can accept it a little more in Starfield. And I don't have as much time in Starfield. I'll get used to it. There's a lot more systems and stuff like that. I objectively did not. When I first played Skyrim, I was like, what is this menu crap? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Because it looked almost, and it sounds kind of weird, it's too clean, too video gamey, too futuristic. Compared to
Oblivion, which was like
compared to Oblivion.
Parchment paper. And
yes. Yeah. I feel like, and that was just, you flip the page to, it's my inventory page, it's my quest page, like very simplistic. Like you still have these separations, like you just mentioned. So they're always there.
Yeah.
But I feel like the tone fit better. This, at least, yes, the menus are complicated, but the tone fits.
Yeah.
I really hope that with Skyrim, and honestly, Elder Scrolls Online, because it's basically Skyrim 2.0.
Skyrim MMO.
It's
sort
Skyrim
of
MMO. Like they're really similar looking. I would like with the next Elder Scrolls game, they've got to go back to a less futuristic gamey feel to that.
I would love that. I agree.
Because I feel that's actually a detriment to the Elder Scrolls series. Fallout, it's always your Pip-Boy. It's just your Pip-Boy. It's fine. It fits. Again, clumsy to a degree, but with the Elder Scrolls, I feel like they've kind of squished the Elder Scrolls into the more futuristic ones of Fallout and now Starfield. And I would like them to kind of rein that back in when they go back to Elder Scrolls. Make it feel like you're opening up a little parchment and like browsing through it like it used to be.
I agree. I think that is a fun aesthetic for the Elder Scrolls games, and I think using that again would be great. When it comes to the Starfield stuff, I feel like it's complex, so it just is going to be complex. So it's about familiarity, and you just have to use it enough, and then eventually you'll get used to it. My complaint is actually in the other direction, that some of the things are not complex enough, which is a weird complaint, because every time I used to work for startup companies, and part of what I did in the startup companies was working in marketing. And when people think marketing, they often think like running advertisements. Some marketing departments are actually more of like our research and development side. And so I worked with things like UI for like a kiosk machine that you go up and like with a touch screen. And there's a lot of things I learned about UIs and those kinds of things. But in general, we just don't like to learn new things. We just don't like to walk into a situation and have to figure something out. So there's that natural inherent resistance to it.
Right. It's the familiarity with needing to learn something new. It doesn't feel the same as something you're already comfortable with.
Yeah. Like, and two things may be 100% what transposable would be the answer. Yes. So for example, this thing has categories along the top and then everything comes down, as opposed to things with categories on the left and everything goes to the right. Those things are fundamentally the same. You're just turning the thing, but simply making that change makes it feel alien again, like you have to relearn it, because your brain has to go, okay, how does this work? It's coming from this side now. That's different than what I'm used to. Right. So yeah, absolutely. Like there's that. It took me probably the first 5 or 6 hours to really get used to all those changes. Yeah. And I think that everyone's going to go through that.
Right. And I guess the only reason I bring this up specifically is it's because it's been something in games that I'm very, I don't know if you call it nitpicky on UI, because I'll tolerate whatever, like, and I can make do.
Sure.
But like a good UI feels so much better than a bad UI to me. It's really notable. And it's one of the things where it's like when Diablo 3 first went to console, everyone's like, how is this going to work? Blah, blah, blah. And it was like, it's a wheel and it's just a set amount of numbers and it's actually simpler. And then they were just like, crap, this is like way better. We're ditching the old like cube-based like inventory thing because it worked.
Right.
So like there's benefits, and like you said, sometimes it just takes getting used to it.
Right.
And like it's just one of those things. They're complicated, and with more systems, they get more complicated.
So to add on to that complication thing, because I never really got to my point. I'm so used to having now modded in for games like Skyrim improvements to the AI,
to
right?
The UI.
So to the UI, UI, not AI. So for example, in your inventory screen, I want to be able to have columns that tell me things like weight to value ratio.
Yes.
But we don't have that. I also want to be able to click the top of the column and sort by each of the columns, just like on a spreadsheet,
Not that
but you can't do it.
Oblivion's UI again, but I mean, it totally had a weight to value thing. Just saying,
right.
This is
so in some ways they've made this simpler, but I find value in those things. But I totally get the idea of like, you're already opening up something that's very complex, and then to all of a sudden see even more complex information that not everybody uses. I get that. Like, you got to trim the fat somewhere, right?
Well, absolutely.
But it's a tough decision. It goes one way or the other.
So that's all. Just going forward, that's a big feature that I feel has been in a direction that I have not really been a fan of with Bethesda games. And I get it because you have to manage more stuff with the more systems.
Yeah.
But I really hope they find a good way to do it in the next Elder Scrolls game. If you pull out a book and it's like, okay, well, each tab is separated by, those like felt bookmark things that like are attached to the books.
Yeah.
It's just like my menus are separated by that. And then it's like, okay, I flip that. And then you flip through the pages in that section. And then you do a bookmark to the next, something where it feels less out of world the way that I feel Skyrim really did, and Elder Scrolls as well.
Totally. Okay, so here's another question, because we're getting close to the end of the show.
Yeah.
What about the combat? I'm sure a lot of people are going,
yes,
I like the combat in Skyrim, but now we're shooting things in space. How does this hold up? So
Elder Scrolls combat is much more simplistic in a lot of ways, because it's not a combo system. It's a stamina system, but not a stamina system like the Souls stamina system. Like, it's a little different. And the archery thing is always kind of like this weird loophole sort of thing. In Starfield, so far, so my thing is, I had mentioned maybe pre-show, I'm not even sure if it was while we were recording, I actually have another totally different aspect to both you and Dave. Ballistics only. That's the only.
So you're
type
all
of
ballistics weapons.
I'm just all ballistics. I really like the whatever 77 or 77 pistol thing you get at the start, and I got it might be called a Ravager or something like that. I'm not really sure. It's basically a submachine gun.
Yeah. Okay.
Love that thing. Like, just right out the gate, it feels great. And each subsequent game, Fallout's being the only one with guns specifically, the combat has felt more actiony, modified by RPGs. Whereas when you went back to Fallout 3, this is an RPG that is interactable with guns, because this gunplay kind of is crap.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Elder Scrolls, was the dice rolling system of just miss.
Oh, sure. Like the old system. Yeah. No.
And then it became like, well, it always hits as long as you can hit, and it modifies the damage based on that, and blah, 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 blah. Definitely prefer that. The combat in this game, I know they're now under the same umbrella with id Software, who are masters of first person shooters.
I think according to one of the interviews, it was actually the Arcane team that helped.
Was the Arcade team for this one?
Yeah, that actually helped.
I know Fallout 76, they bolted on part of the id Tech engine and had them help. And
I'm sure there's been crossover through. It's been a long development
stuff as a group.
Yeah.
But I really like the combat in Starfield. I haven't messed too much with melee yet, because I've been all ballistic.
So I was going to ask about that. Have you used it at all?
I literally stabbed somebody with a shiv that I got.
Okay.
I was just like, because I was trying out stealth, even though I'm garbage at stealth. I snuck up on somebody right after this. I'll leave it vague, but like, there's this weird space creature that they probably shouldn't have been messing with on one of the places. You can read a terminal on it about,
It's like the early dungeon you go through.
Yeah. They were looking the other way, and I was like, shanky, just to see what it did. So I stabbed him in the kidney, and it killed that guy. And I was like, oh, that feels pretty good.
Not for him.
I was going to say, a weird thing to say, clipped out of context. But no, I've really been enjoying the gunplay. Minimal on the melee, which is when I play Elder Scrolls. I'm actually one of the few people. I'll do archery, but it's really, I like the the melee combat.
I would love to hear. Okay, so next time you play, try using the axe. There's a sword you can find. There's other melee weapons, right? And so here's my perspective on this in order to share to our viewers a little bit. When you run up on somebody, you got to click a little bit before you get there. The swing is actually larger than it feels like it's going to be when you hit somebody. Okay. And if you get close, they might shove you or attack you up close or whatever. So if you're in the middle of swinging and don't hit them, they might hit you and like disrupt your swing. So there's a little bit more. You can still block.
Like Chivalry 2 or Mordhau.
It's a little bit in that direction. It's not just the blind flailing of like Skyrim, right?
Sure, so, which is just like the most complicated move I do is I pull the joystick in a direction and hold the attack. So that I do
So it's a little bit more physical than that. So that works pretty well. Now, what's funny is my son has been doing a playthrough, and you've built a pirate grandma. He's built an old man who used to be a boxer. So because that's totally a skill line you can do. Yeah,
no, I noticed that.
Is like just fists. So from the beginning of the game, he's running up against these pirates and just like beating them down with his fist. And it totally works. And what's really cool about that is that on planets where there's like less gravity, you can knock people around, like you like stagger them or like make them fall over. But if there's no gravity and they're on the edge of something, they just go floating off, right? Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So far, I think that stuff's been great.
All right. So yeah, and the chivalry comment. I mean, chivalry was like briefly very huge, and then they had some like. Game's great, honestly. I strongly recommend it if you like medieval type stuff.
Kind of a niche game if you're into really like dynamic physical combat stuff.
I think that combat system maybe doesn't need to be as complicated. Same thing with Mordhau. Mordhau is even more complicated, but it's fun. It gives a little more than just slashy type of deal. Yeah. I feel like maybe that would benefit a little more going forward, as they seem to be fleshing out their combat each subsequent game a little more. The combat always feels a little better than the previous game. Yeah. But on that note, and I mean, I know we're getting close to the end of the show, but there's one other big thing that I really want to tackle because I think it will be great going forward, as it seems like it's, from what I've heard from people, a great thing, and it's something long requested. Was this emphasis back on you have a backstory that you pick for your character. Mm-hmm. You have traits you pick for your character going into the game, which I think is very cool. It's a much more RPG tilted way of doing things.
Yeah, but no stats. It's not like you have a special system where you choose like your strength and that kind of thing. That's not part of it at all.
Still didn't go into that, which the Elder Scrolls dropped with Skyrim for the most part, which some people feel was too dumbed down. I think dumbed down is a crappy way of putting it. I always say streamlined because I feel like it's got pros and cons. I definitely like some of the stuff from the older games more in some regards, but some of the new stuff people brush off like, oh, it's too dumbed down. It's like, dude, okay, Morrowind's my favorite game probably of all time. That system was crap in Morrowind. Like, let's not pretend that it wasn't. Like, okay.
They clearly went from overly complex to, and I think that's the trend of kind of what we've been talking about in our conversation is that they're finding the balance between complexity and fun gameplay.
And Fallout 4, although it is my favorite Fallout game, seemed like in a lot of regards, people felt it was a little too actional game, not enough RPG. Yeah. And I definitely agreed with the voiced protagonist. Love the fact that they dropped the voiced protagonist again.
Right.
Don't ever bring that back. Definitely stick with the non-voiced protagonist. I prefer that method personally. But the other thing, which I think is very interesting and pretty unique, is this is almost a hybrid leveling system compared to Fallout and the Elder Scrolls. Yeah. So Fallout is just experience, gives you level, you put in points. Standard RPG style of things. The Elder Scrolls, starting with Daggerfall, because most people don't realize that Arena didn't actually have the use the skill to level it up system. Mm-hmm. It was originally just generic XP. That was just what it was. But then they switched to the system they're so well known for. The more you use something, the better you get at it, which I love as a concept. It's super fun. It's really cheesable, which I like. Right. A lot of people don't.
But it also plays naturally into how you would play the game.
It totally does. But I noticed that at least for the 5 levels or whatever I have in Starfield, it's almost like a hybrid. So you get like a flat amount of experience, but then you put it into the skill that you want, but then you need to excel at the skill for a challenge in order to unlock the next tier.
Right.
So
and
it's
the challenge,
like they took both systems and made a hybrid one, which I was like, that's pretty cool. Like, I like that.
Yeah, and the challenges aren't like weird, like difficult things to do.
They're actually oftentimes still pretty cheesable. I'm not going to lie.
Well, there are things that you would naturally do if you just want to get better at that thing. So, for example, if you do lockpicking, in order to hit level 2 of lockpicking, you have to successfully pick 5 locks, which totally makes sense. If you're going to get better at picking locks, you need to practice picking locks.
Like,
so go pick more locks, and then the next time you have points put in, you could put it in the level 2 of that skill.
Right, which in the Elder Scrolls, that would be what you do. You just keep picking, and it's just your lockpick skill goes up, even if you don't level up. But
in this one, you have to choose to allocate.
Allocate it. Whereas in Fallout, it's like, I shot 100 mutants in the head. Now I'm a master lockpicker. It's like, what?
Like, right. Yeah, the XP doesn't necessarily.
The middle ground, which I found interesting once I started to mess around with the system there. I kind of like that for the most part. That it's like, oh, okay, it's kind of like. It's a weird hybrid where they took both systems. So I'm curious if they will progress with that with the next Elder Scrolls game. Are they still going to have it just be do a thing?
I think we're going to see another. It's going to be a slight variance from what they've done before, and then slightly different, something different.
Yeah.
What I do like about this is in Skyrim, for example, once you hit like level 40 or 50 in a skill, whatever the numbers were when it got real high. Those things progress so slowly.
They sure do.
So even if you were like, if you got real good at melee weapons and heavy armor and whatever else, and you got towards the end game or had been playing the game for like 200 hours, you rarely leveled up anymore because that stuff took so long to progress without going back to something super weak that you could almost not use. Like if you hadn't done archery and you were a really high level, your archery skills against enemies would be terrible. So you wouldn't ever use them to practice them to level them up. And that became a detriment.
That was kind of handicapped you into a very specific thing once you progress.
Unless you were super broad at the beginning and you just continued to be broad as you leveled up.
Everything. Exactly. Yeah. And it was also the similar situation specifically with Skyrim that you could get into when they added the legendary system, which gave you a infinite ceiling for leveling, which I personally love. I love when there's no level cap and they're just like, look, if you want to dedicate to being an overpowered monster,
sure,
that's on you, man. Like you do you. I love the option for that. But the problem with that was it was like, okay, I'm level 80, we'll just say, for example, and I'm going to legendary my one-handed weapon. So now it's down to level 15. I got all those skill points back and now I can re-level it up. Except to kill a Draugr in a crypt, it's going to take me 45 minutes of smacking this thing because I am a useless chud with this sword.
Yeah, so I don't feel like that system is perfect, clearly.
No, the scaling gets weird.
Right. This, and I haven't reached like super high levels yet. And I understand that the leveling does slow down. That is a thing. But at the same time, every time, like you're moving up a level doesn't require you using specific skills in order to do so, which is nice because you can fight whatever you want. You can go on whatever quest you want. You hit the next level, you get a point. And then if you have something you can put the point in that you want to use, then you can do it. And that it's,
I like the unlocking the next tier comes from just, you're still you, but you got to focus on that to unlock the next tier if you want to put more power into it. I kind of like that. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, I think it's a good balance between the two systems. I think we both agree about that. Yeah. So, so that is cool.
Cool addition.
Real quick, the backgrounds and things. Do you like this concept of like your traits and your background? I
do. So I'm not, I make no bones about it. I'm not exactly a min-maxer, but I'm pretty much a min-maxer when I play games. I play games very gamey, rather than, I do come up with a backstory. Like I joked about, like I have just a pirate grandma. That was just like a thing I made a joke about. That's my character for this game. Just like okay, pirate grandma. That's just what it is.
That's just it.
But I don't go super into like, well, she wouldn't do this. Everything is based around what is most advantageous to me playing this video game. I do that in all games. As Gwen the Bard, friend of the show and everything like that has mentioned before, and they try to talk about on the Snug podcast, where they're like, Operation End Murder Hobos. And it's always give a backstory. So she gives you a prompt to try to like explain why your character does something. And I always joke that I am the definition of a murder hobo. Like I just roam around doing whatever is most beneficial to me. But I give myself a quick little story. That's fine. This is a system that is not necessarily meant for me. Although I did like the fact that I have alien DNA.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I get better base stats. But food ain't that useful to me, which is kind of neat. It's like, oh, all right. So I guess drinking this cola cube, which, by the way, the random
the
creations
stuff, are
amazing.
The chunks.
Yeah, chunks brand meat.
I want chunks of everything. I want chunks
cake,
to be real.
Like, yeah, there was a package of raw beef. I was like, perfect. Just
did you see the cheesesteak? The chunks cheesesteak?
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a little
cola
square sandwich. Yeah.
Have you seen the cola cube?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just, I want to poke it in real life. It just looks great. But like, I love the option for that role playing for people. Like, I think that is great. The fact that I was a soldier. So but it kind of ties back to Oblivion in the character classes that were in Oblivion.
Right.
You could choose. You could make your own.
I'm a battle mage, and that would mean you have certain stats. But now you kind of play into that role. Oh, I'm a battle mage. That's who I am.
And you can make your own things in a lot of those games. And it was funny because one of the final ones was just like, I think it was like no background given or whatever.
Yes.
And it was just like that one was really funny. I almost went with that one, but I decided to go with soldier. Because my thing was, I was like, I want this jetpack. Like, give me a jetpack. That was the first thing I already don't regret it. It's great. Start the game with a jetpack. But like, I liked that. And then if you want to craft that into your RPG thing, you can mix and match. Like the religion things was really cool. You can pick a religion or you can pick a faction to work with. Love that.
Yeah. And on top of that, if you pick a religion and go to the location and talk to the priests, you can have conversations about the nature of reality. And then you can even decide to no longer be a part of the religion. You could be like, I've reconsidered my beliefs. I'm leaving. And that creates a whole nother dynamic. Like, can you imagine doing that in Elder Scrolls? Like, I am a worshiper of Mehrunes Dagon.
Correct. Like, I am a Daedra cultist. Like, okay. Just like awesome. And there's mods for that, but it's like, I like the fact that could be in the game. And actually, Rick, we were chatting the other day about it, is he has the parents one, which I know Dave Chafinson mentioned. And it's hilarious. They're just like obnoxious parents. Like,
and they show up places.
Yeah, I haven't run into the Adoring Fan yet, or the Hero, whatever it is. But I totally picked that.
Oh, dude, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
So it's like, I really liked those background things. That's cool. It makes your character feel unique, even if you don't want to go super into the role play thing. That's fine, whatever. But I was definitely bummed out, not for me, but for others who wanted more of that in Skyrim, because it definitely was missing a little more in Skyrim.
Yeah, you were just the Dragonborn and you were whatever race you picked.
Right. And I feel like in that one and Fallout 4, that was scaled too far back for people.
Well, in Fallout 4, you were definitely a person with a background. Like, you were either the male or female character.
Yes,
and you had
exactly. Congratulations.
You were that person. Right.
Yes.
There wasn't like, you used to be a soldier, or you were, I think she was a lawyer or something.
And those two specifically, they had scaled back enough that I feel like it's like you're becoming more action with an RPG system around it. And I feel like this pushed more in the direction of the perfect hybrid for people. So I like that. Not even necessarily for me, for all the cool builds other people can do. I really like it being available.
Right. And I think that this creates a platform like Skyrim accidentally became the platform of the decade for people to mod and role play in a fantasy world. This very intentionally has become the platform of this decade that people can do space stuff in.
Sure.
So and to your point, that whole background thing and like a lot of the other role play stuff, the fact that you're a non-voice protagonist, like Fallout 4 did really well, but it didn't become that same kind of platform in the role-playing standpoint.
That was definitely kind of like an action game with a lot of RPG elements.
Right. So I think they've learned from that because they want to make more Skyrims. And so this is going to be the space platform, which makes Todd's comment about Elder Scrolls 6 and them wanting it to be the fantasy platform, for people to play in. And I think that they're like this 8 years of development. I know it's taking forever to get to the next Elder Scrolls game, but I think that they've fleshed out a lot of things in these 8 years that are going to make that game absolutely the game that we would want, rather than had they kept on like they were on a pace. Like you go back 12 years ago, they were churning out new games every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
We'd be bored with that by now. If we had 2 or 3 other Elder Scrolls games at this point, we would be like, all right, they're all the same. Why are they all the same? And that's clearly not what they want to do. They want to give us something brand new that creates a whole nother world of opportunity.
Yes. And after kind of at least preliminarily seeing what Starfield has to offer, and I would like to say the graphics, at least on the Xbox Series X, game runs smooth as silk. Granted, it's at 30 frames a second, but
it's consistent. It's the consistency that's important.
It is yes, I know. And I'm definitely from my prior competitive shooter days, I can definitely tell the difference between them, but I will take consistent over higher and inconsistent any day, because you cannot, this isn't a competitive shooter against other people, so I don't really care all that much. But like back in the day with games, if you ever misjudge a frame because there is a hiccup, you are likely dead against somebody who is absolutely top tier and will blast you. So I've just, give me smooth. I would obviously, more frames is great most of the time.
Right. But the smooth is the bigger, more important thing.
Smooth is much more important than I think a lot of people realize.
Yeah.
And on the Series X, it's been very smooth so far. It feels, this is going to be the weirdest, most nebulous statement, it feels stable as a game.
Oh yeah, this is the least buggy release they've put out. Like I've come across some at this point, but most of them are just like funny little things that happen. And you're just like, oh, that's
I actually haven't had a glitch yet in 5, not even a funny one.
I don't think in my first 5 hours, I don't think I hit a glitch. And then like I've had a few, and some of them are just like physics things that happen in everything. Like the guy's backpack blows up, but we're in a small room and his head gets stuck in the ceiling.
He got stuck in like the ceiling. Right. I think you said somebody got stuck in a table. Like
that kind of stuff is fun. It's just physics.
Not even a glitch. If somebody has a rocket and they go through drywall, guess what? Their head's through the drywall.
Right. Yeah. Slick Rick says 20 plus hours and no crashes. Yeah. I haven't had any crashes at all. I've had like a fish show up on a platform on Neon City, like a giant shark looking fish that's like the size of a car.
Yeah.
Like he was trying to get in the elevator. That was weird. But he didn't respond to anybody. He just sat there kind of just doing his swim animation. Nobody noticed him. I was like, that's weird.
So there's that, which I definitely appreciate. And the other thing is, this game is really, really pretty. Like some of the dialogue things are almost like a little, because they do the zoom thing so that you're paying attention to people still.
Yeah.
Sometimes like their animations and stuff like that are a little uncanny valley, which is a little weird because it's like, there's moments where it's like, this is like weird bordering on a sort of talking to a person, but then there's that sort of not quite there. I don't know. It's interesting. And actually, just to Ghost's question, is this a console seller? Again, from my perspective, I objectively did not have an Xbox. And I bought Slick Rick, who is in the chat. I bought his Xbox Series
so you can
X
play. Yeah.
So that I can play this. and I'm pretty happy with my choice, at least so far. So I'm certainly not going to say it's not a system seller. I understand why. I believe Amazon's sales the day after the Starfield Direct was up 1,047%. I sort of get it. They kind of have their first exclusive system seller that Sony essentially has just a myriad of and has over the years. This kind of seems like one to match it.
Well, this is the first system seller game they've had since like Halo and Gears of War. If you think about like Xbox, I mean, it's been over a decade since they've had like system selling first party releases. Everything else is kind of bomb.
I used to be a huge Xbox 360 person. I skipped all of last generation, and now I've got this one. So
yeah, a lot of those other games.
Hyper console agnostic because
I always end up getting both because I just kind of want to play everything. But not everybody can allocate the money to that because they need to play in other places.
That's not a cheap decision, but I totally get it when you get the option. But to that point, I bought one for it.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, man, this has been a lot of fun. Obviously, we've gone a little bit long, but definitely worth talking about. And
exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let us know. Is there anything that you've run into? Because I know we have a ton of crossover. Is there anything that you happen to see from this series that you're like, oh man, I really hope they bring this forward? Because by the time I beat this, I'm very curious how I will feel about some of the systems. It's like, ooh, I really want to see this going forward into the new Elder Scrolls, because there's a lot of things that it's just like, ooh, that would feel really good in like an Elder Scrolls, I think.
Yeah, so. I mean, there's a lot of things that we didn't even talk about. I mean, just off the top of my head, real fast here at the end, we have the way that the quest lines play out, and the fact that obviously Bethesda quest lines, they're going to be like, here's the thing, go do a thing, and then you follow the quest line, you go to the next quest, go to the next quest, and you're like, okay, where's the twist? There's going to be a twist. Yeah. But I still can't predict exactly what the twists are going to be. Like, I'm like, I know there's going to be twists, but I've heard the writing
in this great quest or this one are like exceptionally good.
Right. Like, there's a little bit of hand waving of like, well, yeah, it would make sense if we did it this way, but we do it this way, and that allows you to be able to say join multiple factions or whatever. Right?
Yeah,
there's a little hand wavy explanation.
Yeah, they haven't aggressively. I mean, I get that, and I honestly kind of like that, because it is rough with Morrowind when it's just like, or prior to Morrowind, where it's like, well, someone pissed off House Halalu. Good luck, ever joining them, because now you're part of Redoran. It's like, well, can I see their story? It's like, you can start a new game.
Start a whole new game. Good luck. Yeah, so they've done a little bit of the hand wavy stuff for some of those kinds of things, and a few other ways also, but I'm not going to talk about here. But the way the quest lines have played out, the way you even just get quests by walking around and hearing people have conversations about things that make you go, oh, maybe we should go check that out. Boop! Sure. It just pops up as a quest. Optional quest for you to go follow up on. So there's like streamlining of that stuff, but also added dynamics to the way that stuff works. Some of the conversations you have with people are interesting, even when you don't expect them to be interesting. So a lot of that stuff has played out in ways where it feels like it's another step forward for me, which I think would be great to carry forward to another Elder Scrolls. But yeah, absolutely. Jump on the Discord. Let us know what you think about how this will influence the next Elder Scrolls games and which kinds of things you think they should take forward into the next one and how they should do it, because I'd love to have that conversation. Lotus, it's time to wrap it up. I know you got another show you can share info
I do.
about.
This weekend, we're going to be discussing all of the news and events in the Elder Scrolls Online that are happening. The Undaunted event has just started actually today.
Undaunted.
So out of tune. There's been some news happening with all of that. And on the 14th, there'll be a reveal for the Q4. But honestly, we're going to discuss a similar vein to this, some of the stuff, that we would like to see tie-in wise, because honestly, like this stuff does, it's a shared family of games, and it's interesting kind of just to speculate on this. So
speaking of speculation, real quick, do you think the secret game ZeniMax Online is working on is a Starfield MMO?
I've heard that a lot. I cannot imagine it would be, because that is putting a lot of eggs in an untested basket.
Yeah, but they were pretty sure this game was going to do well. Sure enough, that Microsoft
I'm
bought
not sure.
them.
Yeah, I'm sure they thought it was going to do well. The numbers are like comically off the charts from what I've seen. Just the amount, like the fact that there was 1 million concurrents on both platforms.
6 million sold already.
Well, and that's what I mean. It's like, and that's like,
imagine at full price. Imagine
so
nobody like a large percentage of them bought the $100 one in order to get early, right? But imagine just the $60 or $70, whatever it is on whatever platform, right? Multiply that by 6 million. Here, let me just do it real quick on a calculator. Horrifying. It's horrifying. I think that's why is my calculator not coming up? Calculator. Here we go. 6 million. Times, so let's just say $65. It's $390 million.
Yeah.
Now add in the extra $40 that people paid for, like that's almost $500 million in sales.
Which that's the thing that I was saying, like prior to me getting it the other day when I was allowed to get it, because I didn't pre-order it, I wanted a physical copy of it. I didn't get the douchebag version type of thing.
Douchebag version.
It's a term of endearment. There were like 1 million people playing just before I was even playing. I was like, what? That is so many people who played extra, because none of them are getting it through the Game Pass or anything like that. It's like, these are all people buying the fanciest version possible. It's like,
now, statistically speaking, people who sign up for Game Pass are going to pay $15 a month. But how many months on average they stay on Game Pass before they leave Game Pass? That's like double their profit right there. Because most people stick around for like 3 to 6 months before they remember to cancel their subscription.
I always appreciate, like, trust me, Game Pass it seems like a great deal. I don't play enough variety of games to make it worth it personally. Yeah. I also like physical media, but the joke was, because a lot of people, including GameStop, which, shout out to Best Buy, which we are not sponsored by Best Buy. They were the only people in my region, i.e. several states, that actually had physical copies. No one else did.
Yeah.
They were shipped.
Why did you want the physical one? You didn't want to download it?
I always want physical media.
Even if you just put the disc in and it just means, okay, you can download it now?
It needs to be on the shelf for the nerd. It's just,
all right. It's getting to the point where it's like, there's not even data on the disc anymore. There's barely anything
on the disc, but once it's at least loaded up, like if I don't have access to the internet, I can actually still play Starfield.
Yeah.
So that's enough for me. Just the idea of that, but it's honestly, it's just like a weird holdover thing that I just like being able to see the physical thing.
I'm watching you age before my eyes.
Yeah. Well, it also helps that like a lot of people play like 1 million games. This year so far, I've bought 8 video games. That is unequivocally the most video games I've bought. It's been a crazy good year. It's just like,
well, go check out Tales of Tamriel. You get some more chat about this stuff. If you want some more Starfield stuff, the Starfield Lorecast, we got an episode coming out. The newest episode will be out by the time you hear this episode.
Yeah.
We're going to be interviewing. We're not doing a whole lot of spoilery stuff because we know a lot of people are just jumping into the game. So for this month, we're talking about like tips and tricks. We're having guests on to talk about their experiences.
Some cool guests coming up.
Yeah, so we got some cool guests coming up. And Zero Period's going to join us. Sam from Mass Effect, Blink from, she's a streamer. And then Ken from Chad Fallout 76 podcast. All these people are, lots of awesome people come in and talk about their experiences in Starfield on the Starfield Lorecast. This show is going to go back to regular Elder Scrolls stuff in the future. Don't worry.
Up where we left off.
It's not turning into also a StarCraft podcast.
Nah,
this is just a one-off episode.
Just a speculation episode based on all of the hype, since so many of us are playing it. So.
Yeah. So go look up all that stuff if you want more stuff. And of course, you can find links at robotsradio.net. All right. Thanks, Lotus. This has been super fun. Thank you, chat, for being here. Everybody stay safe out there. And we're in space. If you're in space, or Tamriel, if you're there, or one of the Oblivion realms or wherever. Thanks for being here, everybody. See you guys later.
See you later.
Thanks for joining us. We'd love to hear from you. You can reach me on Twitter at robots_radio or Lotus of Doom at Lotus of Doom. Also, you can join us on the Robots Radio Discord channel. You can easily just search Robots Radio Discord on Google or check the description underneath the podcast. Also, this podcast is recorded live every week on Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on the Robots Radio channels on Twitch, YouTube, and on Facebook. So just search Robots Radio on any of those platforms platforms. Come join us. We'd love to chat with you while we record the show, or before or after. Either way, just come hang out with us. And if you're looking for more information about my shows and the shows on the Robots Radio Network, go to robotsradio.net for all the information about all the shows on the network, including the Robots Radio Rocket Club, where I help both new and existing podcasters to grow their shows, build their audiences, and create the best podcasts they possibly can. All of that at robotsradio.net. We'll see you next time.